On this episode, Brittany interviews our very own leverage copywriter, Nicole Elliott. Listen in as Nicole uses real-life examples to illustrate how to write compelling copy for your website that gets results.
So Nicole is an internal leverage teammate, herself with delight and verbal freshness, which is something I really respect about her. And she specializes in website copy. So she's able to seduce and charm and excite and please and affirm and tickle all that reads her copy. And I tried to really buckle and put in a bunch of words.
That was great. I love it. In your future.
Excellent. So I will just let you take it away. I know that you have some things prepared for us to talk about website copy, and you are going to share your screen. And then after you do a quick presentation about website copy, you'll get into I don't hear a radio. I'll turn my sound off. It's probably me. I am alone in this place, but there is some background music. So I will turn my mic off and let Nicole take it away.
Great. Well, thank you for the introduction, Brittany. That was lots of great words right there. As I guess you all know by now, my name is Nicole. I'm one of Leverage's in-house specialist copywriters. So I've probably worked with a few of you before. So if so, nice to see you guys again. If I've never met you before, nice to meet you. And so today, we're going to talk about website copy, and we're going to go through and do live website copy audits on two different websites. One of them is one that I chose, and another one is one that one of our Leverage members, Chris, was nice enough to let us go to town on, basically. So I'm looking forward to that. But before I do that, I just want to chat a little bit more about website copy in general, and then give you kind of two big ideas about what makes good website copy. So that way you'll be able to understand a little bit better what I'm talking about as I go through the websites. As well as so when you walk away today, you have some pretty firm takeaways in mind that you can actually go and use to improve your website copy today. So is everyone still able to hear us? Is the radio sounds gone now? Okay, looks like we're good here then. Excellent. Good, glad to hear it. Okay. And so as I'm going through, if I'm going through anything too fast, I have a tendency to get nervous when I speak. So feel free to raise a hand, tell me to slow down. If you have any questions, drop them into the chat, and I'll either answer them as we go through or at the end. So now I guess just kind of the first thing I want to talk about is why website copy, as opposed to, talking about landing pages or, email marketing. And the thing is, as far as other types of copywriting, website copy tends to be pretty neglected. And it's one of the types of writing that I see the most mistakes. I think most companies and entrepreneurs, business owners tend to spend all of their time and budget and resources into really nailing down their landing pages, their maybe marketing emails and ads. And it makes sense because you can see the direct return from these. You can see how many people actually opened your email. You can see how many people bought something through your landing page. But with website copy, you can't see those hard numbers. And so I think a lot of people forget that your website copies, it still is sales writing. It's more subtle, but you still need to, use all the elements of persuasion and the customer research and just knowing your audience, the same type of things that you need to know for other types of copywriting, they all still apply here. And so instead, I think a lot of people just kind of throw up some words on their website that they think sound nice, but maybe aren't going to actually get people to trust you or choose your product. So I know that you all have different types of audiences, different types of businesses. It's really a really wide range of clients we have here at Leverage. So if you're going through and kind of wondering if the advice and tips I'm getting apply to your business, I would say in general, there is always a way that they will apply. So even though there's a lot of different things you take into consider when you write copy, there's a few things that I would call pretty tight or firm guidelines. And it's because of those that, I'm going to be able to do these website audits without, having any backgrounds on the audience or the business itself or talking to the business owner, and still be able to make recommendations that I think would make a difference. So, but like I said, if you're having trouble understanding how it is something I'm saying can actually apply to your business, please just drop in a question and I'm happy to go through it with you. Okay, so like I said, before the audits, I want to kind of present like two big ideas to you. So the first one is me-focused copy versus you-focused copy. And the best way to show this is just with an example. So here we have, this is an IT security firm. This is like the first 3 sentences on their website. So right off the bat, we have our main focus is designing and implementing. We help our customers. Several of the largest and most complex companies in Denmark have chosen Seku. So this is what I call me copy. Just instantly, everything in these, matter of 4 sentences is all about the company. It's all about what they do. There's nothing in it that is really speaking to your customer or helping them, understand what's in it for them, or really, helping them see how you can help them. It's not persuasive. It's never going to convince anyone to work with you. It's just you saying how great you are. And so instead of doing me copy, we want to do what I call you copy. So whenever you can, use your words to talk to your audience. Whether that's literally writing you in your copy or talking about, what you can do for your customers in more general terms. And basically the goal of this is just to connect with them and tell them what's in it for them, why it is they should actually work with you. So here's a much better example from MailChimp. So here they're talking about our campaign builder. And now if they took the me approach, they might just say our campaign builder makes, the best email campaigns, or our campaign builder makes it easy to create email campaigns. And then they would stop there. But instead, they take a you approach and make sure it's really clear what's in it for the customer. And they talk to the customer directly with the headline saying, send better email. That's telling them very clearly what they get. And then they kind of broaden that idea with whether you need to sell your products, share some big news, or tell a story. Our campaign builder makes it easy to create email campaigns that best suit your message. So everything about this paragraph and this page here is tied directly to your customer. So the next big idea is cut the fluff. And I will illustrate this with an example as well. So this is for a web hosting service, obviously. So we have first-class web hosting. Web hosting is our specialty. Happy customers are the priority. Our aim is to host your website securely with the latest speed technology. So I call this fluff because it's essentially meaningless. It's very vague. What does first-class web hosting mean? It says the exact same things you would expect companies to say. Happy customers are the priority. Latest speed technology. I'm sure if I opened up 5 other web hosting websites, they'd have similar phrasing. And there's nothing in there to prove it. It's just the same type of, marketing fluff that all companies have on their websites. And customers, see this type so often that it just doesn't mean anything. So instead, to kind of avoid, cut the fluff and instead be specific, offer benefits, and give proof. Or in other words, make sure your words actually mean something. So really just, taking a fluffy sentence and making sure it's not me copy and switching it to you copy will already help cut the fluff. But beyond that, these are 3 other kind of ideas that will help you. So now if we look, these are 2 much better examples. So here we have eliminate up to 99% of your paper files, store files securely online, access them easily, and collaborate with your staff and customers in a single private location. So there is absolutely nothing fluffy about this headline and subhead. So right at the top, eliminate up to 99% of your paper files. It's very specific. It, it's going to catch people's attention and it's different. And then they also have all the benefits here. You can store your files securely, access them easily. And, if it was a bunch of fluff, they might just say, our product is very easy to use. But instead, they, talk more about benefits and are more specific by showing you how easy it is. So you can, what makes it easy is you can access them easily. And you can also collaborate in a single private location. So then we also have another example from MailChimp right here. So build your brand, sell more stuff. Obviously, that's a very direct benefit. It's also talking straight to the customer, which is great. And then they move on to give proof. So, MailChimp is the world's largest marketing automation platform, and it helps millions of customers. And so that right there, is some pretty impressive social proof. If that many people are using MailChimp, there's got to be a reason. And as we go through the website audits, you'll see there's a lot of different ways you can put proof in. So whether that's, social proof like this, or testimonials, or maybe outlining what's important or special about your process, or maybe, highlighting awards you've gotten. There's a lot of things you can do. But either way, focus on you copy and cut the fluff, please. So now we're going to move on to the first website I want to talk about. So this is for a digital marketing agency, just honestly a random one that I found online, called Kuzai. I'm not actually sure how you say that name. But anyways, so we start right at the top with a results-driven, award-winning digital marketing agency. So you don't need to be a copywriter to know that this is about the least persuasive headline possible. It doesn't really speak to the audience at all. It says results driven, but it doesn't really emphasize what that actually means. So it's kind of just a bunch of fluff. There's no benefit here. There's nothing saying what's different about this digital marketing agency from the thousands of others out there. There's no promise. There's just nothing in there to keep me reading, basically. We could talk forever about headlines and subheads, which we're not going to do today. But this one is one that needs a lot of work. You have to talk to your customer and keep it, specific and use benefits and things like that. So if you have more questions about that, drop them in, and maybe we can talk about that another day even. So then right away, they have this call to action here. Why work with us? This could be an okay call to action. I guess if you call it a call to action, it's trying to get people to click the video. I would need to know more about the specific audience to know if this one makes sense here, or maybe they'd be better off putting in a link to their portfolio or to specific results, since it seems like that their focus, based on their headline, is on results. So then here, we have like a services section. So one thing they do well here is that it is you-centric copy. So it's telling the customer exactly what they get. Get your site optimized, increase your ROI, improve the authority. So they win on that. Something I might recommend is actually putting some type of heading here, implying that this is actually a services section. Because when I first landed on here, it took me a few seconds to realize that that's what they were talking about. And it's never going to hurt to spell things out for your audience. Never assume that people are going to read every single word, and that never assume that they're just going to connect the dots. It's not going to hurt to just put, you're not going to want your headline to just say services, but, something implying that that's what they're about to read now. So instead of saying services, it can be maybe something like, we have a wide range of services for no matter what technique you want to use to boost your brand. Obviously, it'd have to, that data would have to be smoothed out, but just to give you a general notion of where I'm going with this. And actually, just something to consider. What I've seen for companies that offer a lot of different services, and when they especially work with audiences who maybe aren't super familiar with what they do. Like I don't know. I haven't spoken with this company, so I'm not sure what their audience is like. But if they maybe don't know much about digital marketing services, they might actually benefit from, instead of breaking these down, just setting up like a really, really easy quiz. With something like, want to know or find out which digital marketing service is best for you. Answer this 3-minute, 5-minute quiz. And then on it, it'll be something like asking them, what are you struggling with? And if maybe someone checks, I'm having trouble getting my website on the first page of Google, then you can recommend an SEO service. Or, if you say like based on their goals, if they say, I want to reach the right audiences, then maybe you can recommend, like social or targeted social media ads. So just something to consider. It's not going to be right for a lot of businesses, but I have had some clients do something like this and it's been hugely helpful for them. So then the next section, obviously having some proof in there of who they've worked with is always a good idea. They put, I would imagine Papa John's is their most well-known customer, and they have that front and center. I don't know if it's deliberate, but either way it's working. Something they are missing is testimonials. That should absolutely be, on the page somewhere. Maybe they've worked with these people, but the job could have gone really badly. I want proof, like, okay, they've worked with this great guy. They worked with Papa John's, but did Papa John's actually get some results from them? So then we have this next section here. So it's digital done right, results driven, and we can help. And so basically this entire section is very me copy. We go above and beyond to deliver results. We don't do long tie-ins. We believe. There's very little about it that's talking to the customer, with the exception of like 2 sentences, like whether you're looking for a digital marketing campaign. And so that this entire section should be reframed. And it's also all a bunch of fluff. It's, we provide you with the results you need to make your campaign triumph. At Kuze, your priorities are our priorities. Okay, you say this, but there's not really any proof. And it's the exact same thing everyone else says. It just doesn't mean anything. And so what I would actually recommend instead is, instead of just putting, these fluffy me words here, cutting them entirely and using this as a section to display some proof of what it is they can do. And so what I found when I was going through their website is that hidden on another page, they actually have some really great case studies, but you would never know because they don't make it obvious. Even on this page, I don't notice it until I put my mouse on it, which is just an awful idea, because a 450% increase in organic traffic is a number that should be around everywhere. As with this one, revenue from organic traffic rose by 41% year on year. So unless maybe their case studies are really awful, so they're embarrassed and want to hide them, I'm not sure, I haven't read them. But that's something that I think, rather than having these nonsense words here, is just putting those results and adding links would be more effective. So then, they have more proof, an award-winning digital agency. Okay, that's good. Maybe some links to these awards, not essential, but just something to think about. And then they're ending on a final call to action. I don't know if I would necessarily make it a full contact box. I would maybe instead have kind of like a final subhead, and then just have like a call to action button, contact us, that then brings them somewhere else. So then let's see, we're going to talk about 2 more pages with them quickly, their services and their about page. So then if we go to their services page, so we have digital marketing services. Fancy taking your digital marketing to the next level? You're lucky you found us. So this headline and subhead has kind of the same issues as the first page did. It's talking a little bit more to the customer in this case, fancy taking your digital marketing to the next level. But it's still not, that doesn't really mean much. There's no, it's not offering any benefits. It's not really, at least when I read it, it's almost off-putting. Maybe that's perfect for their audience. Like I said, I don't know their audience in this case, so I can't confirm that. But at least to me, I read that and I was just like, okay, why am I lucky you found us? You haven't done anything to prove that to me. So then they have a breakdown of their different services, which is good. The copy is much more you-focused, which is also good. They have, you'll get engaging content created that delivers. And even when they're talking about themselves, they say what that actually means for the customers. So we'll ensure your site is optimized and technically on point, so your customers will find you across all their devices. One thing I would say here for the call to actions, definitely make this like a color that contrasts with the background, so it stands out more, because otherwise it's really easy to lose the call to actions. Although, like I said, there's always so many considerations in copywriting, so I might just be backing up on what I said. that would depend on whether or not, or how badly you actually want to get them onto that separate page. So if it's maybe a venue you want to provide, just in case there's someone who needs more information, you might not want to make it stand out.
Hey, Nicole, we have a question if you're ready for one.
Oh, yeah.
So this one's from Kyle, and he's wondering, do you have any insights or recommendations for prioritizing information on websites? What are people most looking for? And are there differences between first-time viewers and repeat viewers?
Oh, that is a very big question. Yeah, I would say it's really hard to give like a kind of a hard and firm answer for everyone, because it will depend on your specific audience. And so if you're taking, let's say you're taking someone who has never heard of you, maybe they just ended up on your website through Google because, you know, they searched digital marketing services and they ended up on this website. You're going to need to do a lot more convincing. You're going to need to have more copy. You're going to have more proof. You're going to have more of a breakdown of what you do to convince them to work with you. But then if you have someone who, you know, is maybe they were referred to you, or they came from, you know, they came from your landing page, or, well, you wouldn't send someone to your homepage from your landing page, but maybe from an email, or they have some knowledge of who you are, you're going to have to do less convincing. So there's absolutely a difference on how much you're going to add based on, you know, first-time visitors and ones who have more awareness of who you are. But that's also what makes homepages really difficult, because with like landing pages, you tend to have like a very specific type of audience. You know, like everyone there is coming from an ad you ran, or everyone there is coming from an email you sent. So you know where those people are at in their stages, and you kind of know, you know, more about them. But with your homepage, it gets tricky because you're catering to a lot of different types of potential audiences, from people who, you know, maybe know a lot about digital marketing and your services, from people who know absolutely nothing. And so as far as figuring out what to actually include, I mean, usually what I say is it's not going to help to write to everyone necessarily. I mean, you can maybe have like a small section if you have someone who's really aware that you can direct them to, but you're going to want to kind of focus on the audience that you think is most likely to convert. And so obviously it takes like a lot of research and testing to get to that point. But if you're finding that people who, you know, come to you via referrals are most likely to convert, then those are probably the people you're going to want to write to. Does that help?
Thanks. Do you recommend calling out those differences, i.e. first time go here, come here often, go here? So I'm guessing like pointing them around the website as to where to go.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think that's absolutely something you can do. I mean, I've seen other websites do that really successfully. Actually, I think I don't remember what website I was on, but there was one like article that I kept referring back to. And after a few times, they had like one of the chat boxes pop up in the right corner. And it said, I see you've been here, you know, like 3 times this week. Do you have any questions? And it was just brilliant, because it was like, well, actually, I don't have any questions at the moment. But it was, you know, an acknowledgement of, yeah, this person's more interested in what we're doing. So it's a good time to set up the dialogue. So yeah, I think that's definitely something you can do. So one more thing about this services page then is where they have a breakdown of the process. And so I think breaking down your process is something that's probably helpful for most types of like services or products. Especially if kind of what you're, you know, if you're promoting yourself as being easy to use, or really just to help promote yourself as whatever it is you're distinguishing yourself as. So, oh, sorry, that was a very long sentence to explain that. Like, for example, with this company, it's with, at least based on their initial headline, it seems like they're kind of trying to position themselves as being results driven. And so they can use their process as a way to prove that. It doesn't do that here, but that's, you know, one way they could take it. But what I would say here is 9 steps for a process is way too much. It makes it look overwhelming. And here they also have an issue where they are prioritizing like kind of cutesy or clever copy over clarity. If they have like right here, come aboard and stands by. And I'm all for putting personality in your copy, but never at, especially in like headlines or subheads where you really want people to understand it. And in this case, it just kind of muddles meaning. So I say, come aboard. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, it means you sign and we ensure teams are fully briefed. So in this case, I would just make that little subhead right there really clear, and then put the kind of the personality down below where it's not quite as important. So now the last page, which I'll go through quickly before we talk to Chris, is the About page. And now I really wanted to talk about this one today because it's, clients always seem really, really surprised when I bring it up, because this whole time, so far we talked a lot about you copy. That's always the priority, forget about talking about yourself. And that's true even on your About page. So, if you see how they start it here, who are Kuze, we're a creative bunch, we're the dreamers and doers, the crazy and the kooky, we're not completely normal. And we kind of like that. I mean, it's nice. They look like very friendly people, but that's never going to convince anyone to work with you. Or show them that, you really can do what you say you can do and give them results. And especially if you think about the type of people who are on your About page, it's going to be people who are already interested in what you're doing. Someone might end up on your homepage, kind of not necessarily accidentally, but semi-randomly, if, they hear a name through the fine and want to find you, or they, Google whatever you do and end up on your page. But no one's going to click through to your About page unless they actually want more information. And so it's really, starting it with something like this, or starting it with something like, John's ice cream shop began in 1953. People don't care, that you're not giving them what they want. And so you really want to use your About page to connect with your prospect and then tell them why you're the best. And so I like to do this, and I break my About page into 3 parts. This is going to vary a little bit from person to person, but hopefully, or company to company, but hopefully this will give you an idea. So let's say, right at the top, I don't even spend the first maybe third of the About page or so. I don't even mention myself or the company. All I do is talk directly to the prospect using you. And I usually do that by, kind of telling the customer their story, whether that is maybe their, the breakdown of their problem, what led them to this page today, or a visualization of the future they will have once they actually choose my product. So let me give you another example that might help. So not long ago, I was working with a client who does patient education and marketing videos for chiropractors. And so instead of starting the page by saying, like ABC company was formed in, 12 years ago because whatever, we started it by talking directly to the prospects, and we told their story. And so, we said, you went into chiropractor because you believed in the holistic healing power of, chiropractic care or something along those lines. And then we continued in saying, you went through school, you opened your own practice, but then you realized there were a few gaps in your knowledge. You had no idea how to market yourself. You didn't learn that in school. And also, dealing with patient education was eating it away into a lot of your time, and you were able to see less patients. And so we really just literally wrote out their story in details. And so that's what I recommend for the whole section up here, is just telling the prospect story of the people who are on these websites. Like I said, I don't know this audience directly, so I can't speak to them. But maybe they ended up here because, they are sick of their marketing campaigns failing. Or maybe because they, they've worked with a ton of digital marketing agencies before, and they all just kind of do the same thing, or they don't actually listen to what you want. So whatever that is, you tell them their story. And then down below, you switch to your story. And that's when you actually talk about yourself. And so I think especially if you're kind of like a, one-man show, or you yourself are kind of the personality, like if you're, an entrepreneur who sells books or courses or something, then you really want to tell a story that hopefully reflects the struggles your clients are going through. So in the case I was just giving to you, then I switched to the story of my clients who were chiropractors that had been in the exact same situation that that their audience members had been in. So we shared, kind of their struggle, and then led that to them creating this solution. So, you start with your prospect story, then your story that positions you as the solution. And then finally, you need to offer proof. So this is where you really seal the deal. You've shown them, your audience, that you understand them. You've shown them why you're qualified, why, how you have been there yourself. And then you transition to the proof. And so there's all sorts of things you can do there. In the example I was giving before, we added in some mentions of like awards their videos had won, as well as added testimonials from other chiropractors who had gotten like a really, really great improved patient retention rate, things like that. So as far as proof goes, you can add those testimonials, like I said, or maybe for this agency, they'd be better off adding in case studies, or maybe, if you have a really, really unique process, add in your process, just whatever you can do to really finalize and show people then that you are the one for them. And one thing I will say they do at the end, this page does well. At the very least, they don't just end the conversation. There are so many about pages, and really just pages on websites in general, where they go through all of this great information, or, well, mediocre information in this case, and then they just let the conversation stop. And so on every single one of your pages, you're going to want to have some type of call to action. So just think about where it's most practical to send people. So after you're reading your about page, maybe it doesn't make sense to send them straight to I'm contacting you. Maybe you should direct them to your portfolio, or maybe you have some really popular blog posts that your audience members seem to appreciate. Whatever you do, just make sure you send them somewhere. Okay, are we still good? Okay, so Chris, are you ready then?
And Nicole, I actually have a question for you. So this is from Eleanor. If the client, so the person that you're writing for, doesn't fully know who their audience is, but still wants a website, how would you craft the copywriting? So if you're trying to have a you audience-centric approach to your website, but you don't necessarily know who that audience is, what should you do?
Yeah, that's where it gets really tricky. Ideally, you are able to put in some time up front to figure out who your audience is. But I understand that's just not always possible. Really the best thing I would do is try to get as much information, or try to understand them as much as you can. Otherwise, if you consider let's say you're opening up a bike rental shop and you're not really completely sure, if you're going to cater to people who have really high-end bikes, or, maybe people who are just casually riding their bikes to school or work, or people who, really need it for practical purposes. But something you can do is still, I call it, or lots of copywriters kind of call it like review mining, or just hanging out where your customers are, just to kind of get an idea of where people are at, as far as, or what people are doing now to solve the type of solution you offer. And so, like I said, if you are offering bike repair services, maybe I would go to Amazon and Google bike repair kits or bike repair books. And then from there, I read the reviews on those type of products, because those products are, if people didn't come to your shop, that would be their alternative. That would be their opposite, the solution they might choose. And so from there, it can kind of help you identify who your audience is as well. Just because you can kind of see, maybe what parts of bike repair people are struggling with, or you can see what type of language people use to talk about bike repair. And just, it's not a perfect way to do it, but until you're able to really get into that audience, it ends up becoming kind of a guessing game, and then being willing to optimize and test and change things as you get to know them better. I'm sorry, Eleanor, I know that was maybe a little bit vague, but the better. I mean, it's very difficult to write it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to write in a way that is going to convert if you don't know your audience very well.
What's the type of things that you request from clients, or questions that you ask, or what the information that you would need in order to start writing website copy?
Yeah, so I mean, usually what I like to do is just hop on a phone call. I find that's really the best way to kind of get all of the details and, also get an idea of my client's actual voice. And, we'd start, like, I need to have a really good understanding of kind of what it is that you're offering, understand very clearly kind of the benefits. If you know who your audience is, then we can also figure out what your most enticing benefit is. Maybe you offer a product that helps people save time, and one that's saves time or money. And so we have to decide which one of those is kind of going to be the most enticing one. And then that's what we can, the kind of the message we can prioritize and put in the headline and things like that. And then, of course, I want to know as much as I can about the audience. I will also do some of my own audience research, but, I want to know everything that you have. And then, I mean, we'll just chat a little bit more about like your vision as well, especially if it's, like I said, like you're selling a course or something, or it's kind of like a one-man show, as I call it, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I have like a full questionnaire that I usually send people before the call, so that way they can get an idea of what questions I would be asking. And if there's things you're not sure about, like we can talk about them as well. I know it can be kind of overwhelming to figure out like, okay, I don't really know what my best offering is, or I don't fully understand, like what my customers are struggling the most with. It's a lot of questions. I've been told by some clients that I ask too many questions, but then they were happy with the result. So I think if you just bear with the questions, it'll be worth it.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll let you go ahead and get started. It looks like Chris is still joining, so he has accepted his invite. He isn't leaving us. He will be on shortly.
Okay, cool. So don't worry, Chris. I'm not gonna rip apart your website too much. It's quite a bit better than the last website I just looked at, so you have that going on. But yeah, just take your time. I'll get started, and once you can join, I can ask you a few questions as I go through. So Chris is a indie music production consultant. Like I said, I haven't spoken with him yet, so it's going to be kind of what I did with the other website, where I'm making these recommendations based on those guidelines, without getting into the specifics, because I don't know his audience or have intimate details of kind of how he runs or what his offering is in his business. So here we have is the headline. I help musicians make better records. Indie music production consulting to help you write better songs, capture your unique sound, and build your fan base. So right off the bat, this is definitely more you-centric than the last website, which is a good start. But the first thing I'd recommend is maybe cut this I. This I help, and make it all about the customer. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to just be make better records, but do something that talks directly to them. And in general, it's a little bit vague. You help people write better songs, capture unique sound, but there's not really anything showing that is making you different. I'm not really sure what this field is like. I don't know if you have a lot of competition. Maybe there's really not many people in indie music production consulting. But if there are a lot, and I were to pull up, several other websites, they might all say pretty similar things. And so it might be helpful to kind of come up with what it is that makes you specifically different, so we can put that right at the top. And that also is going to depend on how much your audience knows kind of about you ahead of time, which maybe we can talk about if you're able to get on the call. Okay, so then here we have this call to action, apply now. Like I said, I'd have to get some details about this, but now might not be a good time to actually give this call to action. It's going to depend on a lot of things. Like I said, I don't know if the people on his website are being referred by Chris because he's meeting them in person, or or if they're coming here cold, because then we might need, maybe some like little, we call it micro copy, where we break down a few hesitations right here, like only takes 20 minutes to apply, or, no payment after accepted. Not necessarily, those aren't necessarily the phrasing we're going to use.
Via Chris.
I'm
Hi, Chris.
here.
Welcome.
Yeah. What did I miss?
We did have a question for you. So,
were you still able to hear Chris when you were figuring that out, or?
No, I had to actually restart my whole computer.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Well, so far we've basically just talked about your headline and subhead.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'll ask you the questions I had about it, because then maybe I can reframe what I said. So Chris, to start, who are the people coming on your website? Are they ending up on here, through like Google search, or are they going to be like recommended through, clients you've already worked with? How do they get here?
At this point, probably referred, or they've ended up on my email list because they opted for a lead magnet at some point from an ad. Mm-hmm. Which I'm planning on running more ads in the future, but I kind of need to get this whole process sorted out before I start driving people to the site. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's really helpful, because the question we were answering, I forget who it was that asked it, but the colder the traffic is, the more convincing we have to do right at the top.
Right.
And so you're making ahead from the fact that people kind of have an idea. So we might not necessarily have to do as much convincing right at the top as we would otherwise. Really good. And then Chris, so what are some of like the biggest kind of problems or things your potential clients are struggling with?
A lot of them have tried recording themselves, and they're having a hard time doing that, because it's probably like writing your own copy. It's really hard to have the right perspective. So there's that, and they're trying to get their careers launched and build a fan base and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So, that's, one way when you're looking at the subhead and headline combination, you could consider, instead of like here, you're kind of showing them the after, mm-hmm. You could also work into those problems. So, like say like, are you, if you're struggling to do this, or you just can't find a way to do this, then I can help. Right. So there's just, I need to chat with you more to get, kind of more details, but there's a few different directions you could take it. And if they're really struggling, that could be a good way to get kind of attention. So then here, okay, it looks like, so you have some good proof here, but I would maybe add some more context. I'm not sure if these are things that people you've represented have been in, or these are places you've written for, or places you've been featured in. So, something like as seen as featured in, just mm-hmm. to kind of say what it is.
Okay.
Then here, so we have a testimonial, which is very complimentary. It's very nice. Chris is an empathetic learner, a multi-instrumentalist, a trendsetter. And while that, might convince someone that they just want to be your friend,
right.
It's probably not going to do much to convince someone to entrust, their music with you.
Yep.
And so I think it would benefit if you could instead have a testimonial saying how your consulting mm-hmm. solved or helped, Penny and Sparrow solve kind of a specific problem or struggle that a lot of your other potential audience members are also going through. Cool. So something that speaks to, your production skills as opposed to just you as a person.
Right.
Even though I'm sure you're a very nice person, but you want to get people to choose you for a specific reason.
Right.
And so right here, is this kind of a like how it works section?
That was the thought when I laid it out. I will say that all of this is very new. I launched this site maybe a week or two ago.
Okay.
And so no one has actually gone through this process yet, but I was trying to lay it out in a, look, it's really easy to get started kind of way, but maybe it's too early in the process for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I've kind of said with the other audit, I think laying out your process is always a good idea. And then here you have, I help artists write better songs, give stronger performances, and capture their sound. So I think here, so you're saying that you do these things, but there's not really any proof offered.
Right.
If you can like put in some names of people you've worked with, or I think I saw on your hidden away on your facts page, you say you have like a really specific kind of a proven method. So maybe highlight that here, just give some more stronger proof. So that way people don't just read it and say, okay, he says this, but how can I believe him?
Right.
And then, so we have some more testimonials. These are better than the ones above because they are more talking about you as far as production. But I think they could still maybe be a little bit stronger in that aspect.
Right.
I know it's kind of difficult to get the right type of testimonials. You have to ask very careful questions to.
Right. Well, I was thinking maybe if I had a copywriter call my past clients, you could probably bring it out of them easier than I could or something. But
yeah. I mean, that's definitely a way that would help because there's some, like I said, really specific questions that you ask to kind of nail down that.
Right.
What it is. I mean, you're not going to be dishonest. You're not trying to make them say anything they don't believe, but it's just a matter of really getting that story.
Yeah, framing it correctly. So cool.
Yeah. So then we have this next section here. What's my investment? How much is your lack of a great recording costing you? How many potential fans skip over your music because it isn't unique? So I understand what you're trying to do here. And I think, it's always a good idea to kind of break down hesitations as you're going through. So if you know that people are about to, have some price shock, it's not going to hurt to do something, do what you can to double down on that.
Right.
But I'm not sure if this is maybe the most effective way to do it. It feels a little bit jarring compared to kind of what you added in before. It doesn't quite fit in. And then there's kind of, and then there's kind of some disconnect between, you have here, your lack of a great recording may already be costing you a great deal. And then you jump to all song packages include.
Right.
So there's not really, like a connection there. Do you have any questions as I'm going through, Chris?
No, everything you're saying, I'm just like, yep, that's how I feel about it too. So
good to be on the same page here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're talking about all song packages include. One thing I might say is, so I see, you're including a lot of names in here, like this is the drummer, here is the, the guitarist, maybe put in a link to these people or have like a separate page where you have like break down who these people are. If most of your clientele is local and will know these names, maybe I just don't know because honestly, I don't know anything about music and that might not be necessary, but based on what I know, I have like friends who obviously are, into music and they want to be producing or have someone produce music for them. It's like their baby. So they're really going to want to make sure that they can entrust whoever it is, they don't just want a drummer they don't know anyone about to kind of take their sound from them.
Right. That is definitely an issue. And I was trying to kind of deal with that here, but maybe it's not the homepage is, I just don't know what's supposed to be happening on a homepage. If it's like, maybe this should be on some other page, just focused on this service or I don't know, but that's where it does get a little bit tricky figuring out, how much is too much on the homepage and how much is not enough. Right.
Because, some people kind of make their homepages as more like a long form sales page, which is a little bit more how yours is, but it very much matters on like down below, we're going to talk about pricing and what people know about the pricing. And maybe that'll give you some more insight on how you decide which things get their own separate page.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, actually we're getting to it now. Okay. So as far as pricing goes, is your price pretty comparable to other people who are doing this same thing? Is it a little bit less?
On my level, maybe I'm slightly higher than average, but I just had this experience where I keep, talking, I'll get a prospect through my email list and then we'll get on a phone and then there's like this total price shock, which I do, and this isn't featured on the site anywhere, but I do help people with their crowdfunding. So we can actually raise a lot of the money they need, provided that they already have a certain size fan base. But I was just kind of getting tired of like laying numbers out there and then people being like, whoa, I had no context coming into this call. So my thought was if I had it featured somewhere on the site, maybe people would at least, it would kind of weed out people that are just totally not going to go for it. But probably not on the homepage to be featuring prices like this. But
Yeah, that was that. I guess that lends me to my next question. So it sounds like you're working with. I mean, just my impression based on this is you're working with people who are new to working with producers, and so they might be making a lot of money from their music already. So they're probably pretty hesitant, right?
Yep.
So in that case, yeah, I would say. I mean, obviously, you don't want to hide your price, but I would maybe put it on a separate page because they need more kind of hand-holding to really show them why you're right for them. And then on the pricing page as well, if we can have like a short facts section, just like 4 questions asking like why does this cost so much, or and kind of break down all of those hesitations that are involving pricing. So I think that it would probably be better to put that on a separate page.
Great.
And then just something kind of small. Here you have, horns and strings. You say they're not included. But up here, you do say that all song packages include.
Right. Okay. Good catch.
And then here you have the application. One thing I would say is it is overwhelmingly long.
I agree.
I think people will see it and freak out. So what I would maybe recommend is just have people put in like their name and email on this page and then submit, and it'll take them to, I mean, you can use like Woofu, or maybe if people have other recommendations for, other programs that'll help you put like an application on several pages. And you can even put like a little, like I said, like that micro copy. Oh, that might have been before you hopped on the call, but just breaking down, like mentioning like, it will take 15 minutes to apply, 20 minutes. Just so people don't start and then see all the questions and stop.
Right.
That's not.
Speaking of timing, Nicole, I do want to let you know we have about 4 minutes left, and I have a couple of questions from the audience for you.
Well, maybe let's.
Question number 1.
Yeah, let's go for the audience questions then.
Okay, it may or may not be relevant to Chris's website, but first question, and they're both related, is what is your standpoint on blogs and the connection between social media postings on the website, and should the blogs be presented in the landing page?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean by putting the blogs on the landing page? To whomever's question that was.
Yeah, that's Arnold. So what is the standpoint on blogs and the connection between social postings on the website? So should you have your social post on your website, and should the blog be presented on a landing page or on the website?
Well, I mean, as far as a landing page goes, a landing page should only always have just a single purpose. And I don't think that would probably ever be directing people to the blog. It's usually to get them to sign up for something or download a free ebook or, go ahead and buy. So on a landing page, you're not going to really want any external navigation. You're not going to want anything that distracts from the main goal. As far as the homepage goes, yeah, it could be depending, like I said, it's going to depend on all sorts of things, depending on your audience, depending on your business. It might make sense to include your blog, some links to blog posts on the bottom of your homepage or maybe on your about page. As well as with social media. I mean, that's really, I think, I'm not a big social media person. So I think that a lot of people get really caught up in thinking that if I don't have a major social presence, it's going to make or break my business. And that might be true for some people, but for a lot of businesses, I don't think it's necessarily something like if someone sees you have, 10,000 Facebook fans, that's not necessarily going to convince them to work with you. Is that maybe?
Do you think it has any added value? And in relationship to that, do you think that a social ticker for something like Facebook or Twitter with their headlines on the website is just useless page content or has any added value?
I mean, it really depends on what your purpose is in sharing those numbers. Like, for example, if you are, what people consider an influencer, obviously your social media numbers are really, really important. I mean, I think I'm like I said, I'm not like a social media specialist, so I don't know if I should be the one to say that it is or isn't worth doing necessarily, because I think it just very much depends. Right? Were there any more questions, Brittany?
No, there's no other questions right now.
Okay, and so we have 1 minute left. Okay.
Now she's muted, but yes.
Well, I did want to talk about your about page, but let's see how much I can do in a minute. Okay. So Chris, I like how you started. You know, everyone, I was saying how you should start with the telling your prospect story. And you do this here, Chris. You know, you say, because you're talented and want your recordings to actually reflect that. Because you have recording envy to the tune of blah, 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 blah. I don't know these references because, like I said, I don't know anything about music, but I'm guessing you know your audience better than I do. So I'm assuming that you understand them. But then what I would recommend for the rest of it, there's really nothing about your story. I'm going to imagine that you went through a similar struggle as far as, you know, figuring out how to get your music out there. And that would be a great story to share, that you have a struggle that your audience members can relate to.
Okay.
Now, don't be afraid to get personal here. And then finish things out. Sorry, I know I'm speaking very quickly, but I'm really trying to pound this out. Finish out by doing that proof. So, I mean, this section, I did enjoy reading it. It was funny, but it's not really, it's kind of just like, it's showing, once again, it's showing like Chris, like, oh, someone I want to be friends with, but it's not really me to work with you as someone to produce my music. And so here, you know, throw in, like, I think on your facts page, you mentioned that you've landed your artists, clients, I'm not sure what you call them, but have landed in, like, you know, the 10 Billboard folk album charts and iTunes singer-songwriter chart. So put all that proof there, you know, or you talk about, you have a set process, you talk about it on your facts page, don't hide it there. Feel free to, you know, share it here, really show people that, you know, why they should work with you. Because it seems like you have a lot of really good experience. It just isn't necessarily reflected here. So,
cool.
Okay. I think that's it. I think I'm over time now. So,
okay.
Yeah, if you want to chat more about it anytime, Chris, you know, or if anyone needs any help with website copy, you know where to find me on Leverage. Just create a card and I will find you. Sorry, that's
great.
And I will find you. I love it.
Yeah.
So I speak for all of us. Thank you both for joining us today. And thank you everyone that attended the webinar. And since we make these for you, please let us know in Slack what topics you are interested in, and we'll try to make sure that every webinar we have is as valuable as this one.
Download our website copy guidelines at podcast.getleverage.com for 5 easy tips you can do right now to improve your website copy. Thanks for listening to the Leverage Podcast. Leverage is a premier outsourcing platform that gives you access to a team of skilled professionals who can complete any task or project for life and business. Our goal is to help people be their most efficient and productive selves. Focus on your unique ability. Let us do the rest. Get Leverage.